regarding how to prepare as a coach for a competition, before the competition and during, and then what to be aware of for the technical committee's rules and regulations. So this is something brand new. It's a premiere that we have this. I have invited the national coach of Denmark. But before we start, I would like to give you all a greetings from our president. Last week he was flying to Cuba, and now he's flying from Cuba. So he's not able to attend, but he sent all the best to you, and thank you so much for joining this seminar. I would like to give the floor to the General Secretary if he wants to say something.
Good evening, all. I apologize for these difficulties to join to the meeting. I'm not sure what happened because it's always on the same way that the link was sent, and just clicking on the link on the website news, there was no problem. But okay, important is that we understand how it works because we can see the number increasing. It is good that this is the second month that we have these seminars in a row, and the huge number of ITOs shows that really this is something important, and that we all understand that this is important. Athletes, coaches, and ITOs, without them, there is no competition, there is no sport. So I will not bother you anymore. Good luck, Tina, and good luck to your colleague who will present this important topic.
Thank you so much. And for you who do not know who I am, my name is Tina Beiter. I am Vice President in EWF, and I'm also Chairwoman of Technical Committee. And together with me in the Technical Committee, we have Patrick Helgesson from Sweden. We have Tcrr Dun from Norway. And we have Georgeta Yon from Romania and Arayik Alavardian from Armenia. Thank you so much for supporting this interesting event. So I think we should get started. And if you have questions during the PowerPoint presentation, please write it in the chat. And my beautiful helper, Patrick, he will stop us and he will ask the questions to us. So now I will start sharing. So can you see it? Patrick, can you see it?
Yep. Yes.
Good. So this seminar is the first one ever where we have coaches and ITOs together talking about how to make the best competition ever. And today it's called How to Prepare as a Coach Before and During Championships and What to Be Aware of. And it's hosted by me and the Danish national coach, Anders Bendix Nielsen. Can you see the next slide, Patrick?
Yep.
Good. So just a short presentation for you who do not know who I am. I'm a former weightlifter myself, and I have been a CAT Category 1 ITO since 2012. I am Vice President of European Weightlifting Federation, and I have been Chairwoman of Technical Committee since 2016. I've also been member of the Executive Board since 2016, and then I have been participating in lots of competitions, but I have been jury president and at lots of EWF championships, and at the World Championships I have been a jury member in Anaheim and Ashgabat, and I was technical controller in Pattaya, and then I was a jury member at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And now you will meet the next host. Please, Anders.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Anders, and I've been a head coach of Danish weightlifting since 2003. And Danish weightlifting is a very small organization, and that means that I have been dealing with practically all parts of things that might get divided over a lot of people back in your nations. I've participated in more than 40 international championships during the years. And my focus today will be to sort of try and pinpoint the things that are different when you get to international competitions as compared to what goes on at a national level. And of course, I can only speak out of the experience I have from Danish weightlifting and Nordic weightlifting. So any questions you have, you are welcome to write them in the chat, and we will answer them later.
Thank you. So this is just a welcome again, and we look forward to having you aboard for the next hour. And would like to thank the president of EWF and the general secretary for fantastic support. So let's get started. So just before the competition, before you send the preliminaries, who is participating, we have the final verification, and it's online now. Since the COVID situation, we started to do it online, and we do it earlier than normally when we had it at present at the competition. So for the youth and under 15 in Chisinau, Moldova, it will be from the 15th of June at 9 a.m. in the morning until the 27th of June. So please go in there and check up if you have any changes. And remember, it's maximum 10 male athletes for female, and please check up the correct spelled name and birth and year and body category and total, and the same with the men. And please remember, maximum 2 athletes in one category. And when this is done, it's time for the technical committee to do the start book. But Anders, do you have anything you do especially for the final verification?
I am actually more concerned with the preliminary entries, because the preliminary entries are actually the first line that you have to cross. And the thing that happens from time to time, I know it has happened in Denmark and other countries, is the demands regarding whereabouts. I have to stress that it is very important and is been taken very seriously by now. I hope that everybody is aware of this, but be sure that you have followed the demands for whereabouts, which is sometimes actually before the preliminary entry. It depends on the dates, so you have to be very, very careful that you have those things in place, because otherwise your athletes will not be allowed to lift. And so that is actually the most important.
So we have 3 things like a kinder. You need to have the whereabouts ready for the preliminaries, and then you can do the final verification.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you want to say more, or should we go on?
No, I think we go on.
Okay. So for all of
Hello,
you.
Tina. I'm sorry. Hello.
Hello, Surab. Welcome.
Welcome.
Kamsa.
Kamsa.
So when you come to the competition, you will meet lots of international technical officials, and we are there for you. We all want to everybody to have the best competition ever. And we are here to make sure that the rules and regulations are being complied and to make a fair competition to all. And the 3 keynotes that we use as ITOs, international technical officials, is to be on time, to be patient, and to be polite. And then when you come to the competition, you will have to train, and you will see a training hall, and please pay attention to the training schedule that is made by the technical committee. You are only allowed to train when your country has time, and you're only allowed to use the platforms allocated. Anders?
Yes, and that is, of course, the official rules. But But what normally always happens is that that all the coaches know that it's of course absolutely impossible to have only 1 hour per day where you can train if you have a large team. Some athletes have early competitions, so they want to train early in the morning. Some athletes have competitions late in the evening, so they want to do their training late in the evening. Normally, it is possible, being polite and kind to the people maintaining the training hall, to go and train in other times than the ones allocated. During COVID, things were a bit more restrictive, but normally, if you're kind and polite, you are able to do your training as you want, because I think that's a very important point for athletes to be able to train at the hour where they're actually going to compete. And that can vary a lot depending on what group you end up in.
Okay. So how to prepare again for the weigh-in? It says in the rules that an athlete must be weighed in undergarments. Articles of athlete's outfit, costume, unitard, shorts, and t-shirt are not considered as undergarment. Athletes must not wear shoes or socks or any footwear during the weigh-in. So for now, the athletes has to weigh in a bra and underwear, and but it doesn't say how it should look. For the men, you can use the elephant if that's what you want, but I know that there are things. I know that the IWF had this question up at their technical committee meeting where I was joining. So I know that there will be a change, but I'm not sure that the executive board in IWF has accepted that. So for now, it will still be that the athlete, the female athlete, will weigh in a bra or sports bra and underwear.
Yeah, and that actually means that especially for lighter girls, it can be a problem that they have to cut down an extra 100 or 200 grams. So they have to be prepared for that. I really hope that this rather stupid rule will be changed very soon. But at the moment, there's nothing to do. You have to follow them.
Yes. And actually in Armenia, we had some very good sportsmanship from 1 and 2 of the women that borrowed their bra to other girls so they could weigh in. But what is important when you come to the weigh-in, that is that you undress as much you can outside, because it takes time if you have to take all your clothes off inside, and then you have to take all your clothes on the outside. So as long as you're still decent dressed, then you take so much clothes off as possible. And all the ITOs that will be on duty, they will be at the weigh-in. All 4 referees, they will be there for you. And remember the passport, because we need to check the name, the birth, the date, everything. And if it's possible, bring your own pen, because you have to write a lot and sign and everything. And then remember to check up on the 20-kilo rule, because it's important. The computer will always help us, but if there is a computer breakdown, we need to calculate in our heads. And then you need to sign the athlete card and leave. And Anders, do you have any special things about this?
No, the only thing I can stress is that in my experience, athletes are often very forgetful. So the passport thing is a standard question that I always ask them before we take the bus. Sometimes there's quite a lot of transportation from the hotels to the weigh-in, and if they forget their passport, well, they're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And then you must be very careful about the order of calling for the weigh-in, because if you have an athlete that has tried to weigh in but is too heavy, he or she can go out and do some exercise, go to the sauna, and come back and get in immediately when she's back or he is back. She doesn't have, or he doesn't have, to follow the cue. It's immediately the athlete is there. He and she can say, I'm ready now. But If you are late for the weigh-in and you just think, well, it will take 15, 20 minutes, I will just come whenever it suits me, then you are called and you're not there, you will be the last one. Okay, so it's two different things. If you do not cut the weight, then you can go out and you can come in as many times as possible, and you will go in as soon as you're ready. But if you are late and you forgot something, you had to go back to pick up your passport, then you will be the last. Even though you're number 7 in the line, you will be number 12 after the 11th others, and the one who is trying to get in weight will always come in front of you. Okay, Anders, you have anything to that?
No, I think this is a good example.
Okay. There will always be an athlete's rest area, a room allocated for the athletes to rest just before the competition, just to maybe to put some tape on wherever you are supposed to do it, to listen to some music or relaxation of some kind. And remember to bring all your belongings with you when you leave the room. Are you using that a lot, Anders, when you're out?
Yes, and one thing that I always try to do is as soon as I have the athlete settled in the rest area, I will try to sneak in and see if I can see the starting list as soon as possible. Because as soon as you can see the starting list somewhere, you can start preparing, and that is sometimes possible.
Okay. Okay, you gave a good advice for someone. So when you're ready to enter the warm-up room, you're allowed to enter with warm-up passes as a coach. If you have one athlete, you're allowed with 3 warm-up passes. If you have 2 athletes in the same group, you will get 4 warm-up passes. And any additional athlete for combined categories, 2 passes per athlete. And you can bring your grandmother, you can bring your son, you can bring one coach. It doesn't matter, just as long as you only use the passes that you are allocated. And if you need a doctor, your own doctor, and you have the 3 inside and the doctor is outside, then you just go with one of the others and you change, and the doctor go inside and the grandmother goes outside. And then when the doctor has finished his work, then the doctor goes out and the grandmother or the coach or whoever it is comes back. So when the competition ends, you can leave the warm-up room and stay if your athlete is attending the victory ceremony, and clean up your platform and leave the room.
Tina,
Yes,
we have a question.
yes.
Do they need to have accreditation or just a pass?
They need to have accreditation and a pass. Because now we have the coach license that we need to know which coaches are registered from each country. And if they don't have a registration, then it's because they are not eligible from their country. So they need, of course, accreditation and, of course, the pass visible.
Another
Thank you.
question.
Yes.
Are you going to talk about anti-doping also in a slide, or
Yes,
can we?
later.
Okay, I
Yes.
will wait.
Okay. Okay. So Anders, do you have anything for this?
No, only that of course you will know ahead how many coaches that you are, because I will advise you to bring coaches and not grandmothers. But make sure that you have discussed up front what the different roles are, so that you avoid any confusion when the competition actually starts. Because sometimes in these groups things work out very fast, and if you haven't discussed it up front, you might miss an increase or make mistakes. And by knowing the number of athletes you have in the group, you will know how many coaches you are, and then you can distribute the various roles. I will get back to that later.
Okay, good. So in the warm-up area, you will be presented by a technical controller. They will, as often as it's possible, check your warm-up passes, and then they will show you to your warm-up platform allocated. They will also check your outfit, tape, bandages, etc. during the warm-up. And then it's very important that you listen to when the technical controller calls, it's time for presentation, 5 minutes before presentation. So you finish your last warming up and then help us lining up the athletes for presentation. And please remember a national code jacket. It doesn't matter with the pants, it's okay, but always the national jacket. And then the technical controller would also make sure that only people with warm-up passes are inside the warm-up area. And then afterwards, after the competition ends, the technical controller would also help you with the lineup for the athletes for the victory ceremony or the medal ceremony. Anders, you have something for that?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing to know, and that I have seen that happen quite a few times, is to make sure that your athlete are bringing belts that are within the regulations. It happens, I wouldn't say every championship, but quite often that some athletes, especially the ones coming from CrossFit or other sports, have rather big belts. And when the technical controller measures them, they say you can't use this. And that is very stressful for an athlete to get their belt taken away just before the competition. So make sure that the belt is, of the proper size. And how big is that, Tina?
It's 12 centimeters, Anders.
Exactly.
So when we have the presentation of the athletes, make sure you have your athlete ready for presentation in, as I said, at least the national jacket. And athletes are not allowed to have political statements, etc., on the outfit or the jacket or at the victory ceremony. And they're not allowed to have the flags with them as well. And then the athletes will follow the technical controller and after presentation, leave the platform as they came in. Anders?
Yep, nothing more.
Okay. So when you're outside and the competition starts, we have a technical controller there as well. So again, you will be checked, they will not stop you and check everything, but they will have an eye on if you have bandages, or you have tape somewhere, or if your belt, that looks big, then they will stop you after the lift. It's not certain that they will check it, but they will always have an eye on you. And they will, yes.
A small question.
Yes.
It's about the leggings.
Yes.
One color.
Yes. One color, black, pink, white, no stripes, no pattern, no nothing. You can have it in one color, and then not to stop just beneath the knees, but they have to go all the way to the socks. And if you're not wearing socks, then it's okay. Yeah, one color, no pattern.
Thank you.
Yeah. The technical controller outside at the platform will also check if the athlete announced is entering the platform. They will also check the kilos are on the bubble as announced, and they will check that maximum 3 coaches will be in the coach zone when the athlete is lifting. There can be 4 coaches outside, there can be 6 coaches outside, because you can have various numbers of athletes, but in the coach zone, when you have 1 athlete on the platform, only 3 can come out and look. It's very important because the jury president and the jury member will see it at once, and you will get a warning and get out, please. So remember that you can only go out 3. And then the technical controller at the platform will also take the challenge card if coaches call for a challenge. We will get into that just in a second. And then the technical controller will always be in very close contact with the jury president. Anders, I know you will say something about the challenge card. Oh, not now.
No, that's a little later, but yes,
that's
I
a little
will.
later. Yeah. You want to comment on what I just said?
Nope.
Okay. So inside the warm-up area, we have the chief marshals. At the European Championships, we will always have 2, and they will always be there to help you. And remember, the total you sign up must be 20 kilos. The start weights must be 20 kilos from that. And if you are just in line with the 20 kilos and the warm-up in snatch is going like not good and you need to decrease, then you have to increase the clean and jerk. But if you have 30 kilos from the total and from your start weights, then it's no problem. But if you are just with the 20 kilos, please remember that. And it's the first snatch that counts. Okay? And be on time. Remember to sign the automatical increment on the athlete's card within 30 seconds. And chief marshals will always help you and show you where to sign or write on the athlete's card. But they will not call for you. They will not, like we talked on the chief marshal seminar 2 weeks ago, they will not say, hey, Italy, come, or Denmark, you're late. Come on, it's only 45 seconds left. They will not, but they will put the card in front of you or point where to sign. So they will help you in that direction. And you can always ask if you're in doubt. So Anders, I know you have something to this.
Yeah, this is one of the really important things that is different from at least almost all competitions that we have in Denmark. That at the marshal table, you have to fill out the increase forms. And Tina, if you can go to the next slide. There is an example of the ones that are used in European weightlifting. And if you go one step further, Tina, there's an example of one from the IWF. But they are built up in the same way, where you will see here it's the snatch, and on your left-hand side, you will have the first attempt with a declared weight, and then you have beneath that your option for a first change and your option for a second change. You always write the number and put in your signature. And it is very important to remember to sign, as Tina said, because when you come to these international competitions, you will often be faced with very, very tight groups where the athletes are lifting more or less the same weights. So things can move very fast. And if you don't make your automatic increment, you might actually lose your ability to increase, or in, you know, if you don't do the declaration in time, you can actually be stealing time from your own athletes. That was seen at the Olympics, actually, where the Chinese coach forgot to make the increase before the clock started, and then he stole a minute from the other Chinese lifter. That was quite a big mistake. More often than not, at the moment, I've seen coaches using the increment rules to try and steal time from athletes who fail attempts. So at the moment, the tendency is to wait as long as possible to actually make the increase, because if an athlete before your athlete fails a lift, and your athlete are supposed to are waiting for the same weight and you want to increase it, if you wait and just let 2 seconds go off the clock before you make the increase, then the opponent will only have 1 minute instead of 2 minutes. And this is used very often. So there are, of course, two sides to that coin. One of them is to be able to identify when you have the option to steal a minute away from one of your competitors, but also be aware that your competitors might be doing the same thing to you. And this comes back to having figured out who's doing what if you are 3 or more coaches. We normally have one coach who addresses the athlete and keeps his or her spirit up and gives all the technical input and etc. And then we have one person working the increase and making sure that mistakes are not done, because this is where you can make mistakes. And in a moment when we get to the challenge situation, we normally also, if we have a third person, have a very specific task for that. But it is very, very important that you are 100% sure how this system works, and make sure that you make your correct decisions in order to use your tactical options as well as you can, because this is really where you can get beaten, or your athletes can lose time and miss lifts again.
But then if you do it the right way, you can win a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Should we go on to this one? Can you?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this shows, you know, the situation of you having successive lifts. Let's hope that your athlete has more or less won the competition, and you have successive lifts. Then you have to make your first increase within the first 30 seconds in order to be able to use the additional options for increasing the weight. So if you want to buy yourself extra time, then make sure that you declare the next weight to the marshals within the first 30 seconds. If you don't, then you can't change the weight and you can't buy yourself more time. Again, depending on what increments you're planning, sometimes you can win up to 30 or 40 seconds extra with the loaders having to get bigger discs and swapping back and forth. So this can make the difference of an athlete making the lift or not making the lift. Sometimes coaches are confused and think that they have 1.5 minutes to make one change, but that is not the case. If you don't do the first one within the first 30 seconds, then you're out of options.
Can you continue with this one?
Yeah, I just have to remove this. Okay, yeah. Now, this is actually just an example showing how to use acceptable have acceptable changes, and it's really an example. If you work from left to right, you will see what can be done. And you can work out for yourself what the loaders would have to do in this particular situation. And this is how you buy yourself as much time as possible.
Okay. Thank
Anders,
Yes,
can we go back to the athlete's card?
sure. Tina, please go back.
Ja, hvordan gør jeg det? Med piltasten eller hvad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have one
Which one?
from
It
the
doesn't
other
matter. They
one.
work the same way.
Because Denise says that the coach easy can see the card looking at the starting number. It's usually a big number with a
Yes, that's actually a good point to work out. At the top corner, there's the start number, and that is that is the same number that you have been putting on your athlete's suit. I think we forgot to mention that actually. That after the weigh-in, you will get some kind of number.
A bib. It's
A
called a
bib.
bib number.
A bib number, yeah, that you have to put on either left or right side, and you will be told. And that number corresponds to the number on the card. And the marshals are normally very good at sorting these increase cards in the number order. So you just you don't have to look all over for your athlete's name. You can just look for the number, and you'll be there. And yes, that was a good point. Thank you.
we have another point. We're talking about increases here, but actually you can decrease also if you have a possibility. Are you going to talk something about big increases and then decreasing?
Okay, yeah. As a tactical tool, it can be done and is seen quite often, especially for a third attempt. If we look at this particular athlete, that has not been done. But especially when we get to deciding the medals, let's say one athlete is slightly behind after the snatch and wants to win in the total. This athlete and the opponent have the same second attempt, then it's used from time to time to put in like a 20 kilo or 25 kilo increase to wait and sort of force the opponent to make their third lift first, and then you can bump down to 1 kilo over what the opponent has asked for. It can, of course, be slightly dangerous if you are behind, but again, it can be a useful tool at that point. But just you have to be really aware of you being the last athlete in the competition, because otherwise you might get caught if somebody else are in there as well. So this is like probably something that only really top coaches will ever do. I have to be honest and say I've never done that in a competition because I've not been fighting for gold medals in the Europeans or World Championships. But it is possible within the rules and can be useful. I hope to use it one day because that means that I'm fighting for gold, but I haven't tried it.
And you can put a lot of pressure on the other athletes, and that's a strategic.
You will still also be putting pressure on your own athletes. So,
Indeed, yes.
But it's within the rules, and it's seen quite often. And sometimes people get confused what's going on. But of course, the rule is that you can always decrease down to 1 kilo above what is currently on the bar.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. The challenge card. You will receive 1 challenge card for each athlete, and use it if you do not agree with the ITOs / the jury, but before the next lift or lifter is announced. Give it to the TC, the technical controller, and he or she will say loud challenge card. And if the jury, after reviewing, accepts your challenge, you will get the challenge card back. But if the jury disagrees with you and agrees with the referees, you will have no more chances to use the challenge card. And please, Anders, you have some words about that.
Yes. The first one is a very practical thing that I see at every championship that I go to. Remember the challenge card when you go to the platform, or at least make sure that you have agreed upon at first who has the challenge card and who will be presenting it. So one thing that we have used a lot in Denmark, and it's advice that I've given to others as well, is that you will normally see that there are screens in the warm-up area that actually shows a front view of the lift. There's a camera feed at these championships. And that is actually a much better view of the lift than what you will normally see from the side. You know, the bent arm thing is just impossible to see when you're standing on the side. So have a person placed in front of the screen to see if it's worth challenging. Let's say the referees have 2 red and 1 white. Then you can ask the guy at the screen, is it worth using the challenge card now? And he and she should, you know, be honest about this and say, well, there was a press out, and then let's not waste the challenge card. And it of course means that you have to remember the challenge card because you have to hand it over to the RTOs. And I have seen challenges being lost because they couldn't find the challenge card and forgot to bring it because they were stuck in a bag somewhere. It's a stupid mistake, but it can happen if you haven't prepared.
So Anders, normally I have seen you with your accreditation card, and then you have your warm-up pass, and then I've seen that you have put the challenge card in that as well. So you have it all in your accreditation.
Yeah, sometimes the accreditation has it's like a pocket, and you can put the challenge card down there, or you can put it in a pocket, or just make sure that you have prepared. Hopefully you will not use the challenge card because your lifter makes perfect lifts, but make sure that you have it if you need it. And then one more point about challenges. I've actually only challenged 1 lift ever in all the competitions that I've been at, and that is because most of the time I have seen that the jury has been intervening. At the moment, the jury, without any challenge, can go in and change a lift from good lift to no lift, and also from no lift to good lift. If the jury decides to take the lift away, change it from a good lift to a no lift, I would never use a challenge card, because the challenge card goes to the jury. And if the jury has just decided that it is a no lift, I would be very surprised if the same person 5 seconds later changes their mind one more time. So in my opinion, that will be a waste of a challenge card. I also have to say that I don't like the fact that the jury can by themselves go in and overturn the referees. I think it's kind of disrespectful to the referees, but at the moment, that's how the rules are. So my personal opinion is, don't use the challenge card if the jury has overturned your lift. There is one exception where I could see it being used, And that is if you have a lifter taking 2 lifts in concession and you want to buy yourself some extra time, maybe it's a third attempt that you're waiting for, well, you might as well use the challenge card, maybe get 10-15 seconds extra. So that could be a way of using the challenge card, even if the jury was the one overturning the lift. I hope one day that the IWF will change it so that the jury will only have to review a lift if there is a challenge from the coaches. But at the moment, that's not how it is.
Okay, thank you for that. So who wins the competition? According to regulation 666, the athlete who lifts the weight first. And it could be in a C group or B group. If they lift more or they lift the same, it's the lifter who had it first. So a weight lifted in a previous group must be beaten with at least 1 kilo. And you can always see the result from the previous groups are showing on the big screen. And then if we have an athlete from the B group winning or C group winning, it's the jury president who is required to access the need to recall the B group or any group's athlete to attend and to be ready for the victory ceremony. We have often had to call at the hotel and say, hey, you have to come, please remember, fast, take a taxi, come, you need to have your medal. And sometimes the athletes are at the field of play watching the A group, so they will be ready in their national suit. But yeah, Anders, you have anything to that?
Yeah, it is. There has been some confusion regarding what this who lifts the weight first means. So is a third attempt from a B group, better or worse than the same weight if it's a second attempt in the A group? And the rule is yes, it is. So you have to think of it as wall clock. So what time of day was the lift performed? And that is the lift that will win in case of a draw. So if you have lifters in the A group, be sure that you have just, at least checked out what the athletes in the previous groups have done. And it's actually not that uncommon to see that the weight categories are so close that the B group lifters can quite easily, especially if they're very good at snatch and not as good in clean and jerk, and that's why they're in the B group. Well, make sure that you remember to bring them, and because if they win the B group in snatch, it might be enough for a medal in the A group. If the A group consists of athletes who are mainly clean and jerk specialists, and the other way around, of course.
Or if we have lots of them bombing out. No attempts,
that can also happen.
Each other so hard.
Sometimes A groups, fall apart, and 3, 4, 5 lifters fail to make a total, and boom, all of a sudden you have a medal. And it will be, I think the athlete would be happy to be present at the medal ceremony, because it's quite a big thing. But also the other way around, if you're a coach in the A group and some B group lifter has done a very good total, you make sure you noted it so that you don't end up on the exact same total, but at least 1 kilo more.
Exactly. Thank you. So here we will talk a little bit about anti-doping chaperones and officers, because you must stay in the warm-up area until the competition has finished. If your athlete is chosen for doping control, please be helpful both to the chaperones and to your athlete. And you do not have to leave right away, but as soon as the competition is finished. Anders?
I think that the general consensus right now is that as soon as athletes have finished the competition, it is possible to see if there are any doping control officers present, and sometimes you can ask them if it's okay that you leave. But I will advise you to be damn sure that you are allowed to leave before time, because you can get into trouble if you just leave the competition without telling it to anybody. So if you choose to leave the competition before it has actually finished, because your athletes have finished, make sure that you have told the right people and that you are 100% sure that you're not missing out on a doping control, because that can get you into trouble, and that will be sad.
And the chaperones, we always try to put some kind of vest on them, a visible color, so they are seen among all the other sportsmen. And then it's easy also for the television, if they have a zoom on the warm-up area, that you can see that we are actually fighting doping here. So it's a two-way path. So Patrick, did you have a question for this doping?
No, that was my question, because you don't leave too early. If your athlete has lifted, your athlete is finished, but the competition isn't finished. So just as Anders said, be damn sure that you can leave.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So when you are leaving the competition and you're not taking out for the doping control, or you have been for the doping control, make sure you have all your belongings with you and clean up, because there will probably be a session right after yours has finished. So take the water bottles, use tape, food, paper, whatever, and make the platform ready for the next session. Put the discs out on the side again, and leave the barbell nice and clean as possible. So this is very helpful for us. Otherwise, it will be the loaders or the technical controller trying to clean up. So we really appreciate when you're doing this for us. Yeah.
We have a comment here. Be aware that the glass presented from anti-doping isn't broken, but it's sealed from the beginning, so there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes, always double check and check the numbers on it. Check the numbers that is written on the paper. Yeah, double check, of course. Anders, you have something about leaving the competition?
No, only that I always I've made it a habit of checking that my athletes have actually remembered all their belongings, like telephones, earphones, jewelry, etc. Because sometimes their minds are elsewhere, and if it's the last athlete you have in the competition, and sometimes you're more or less going straight for the airport, it's sad to find out that you forgot your passport or whatever. So that's just a personal thing, because I don't trust my athletes. And regarding the questions about the actual anti-doping thing, I think there's a lot of online material as to how a doping control is performed. That is not in the scope of this seminar, as far as I know. But I can really recommend a lot of the stuff that BATA has online. It can go into great details with lots of examples, and so that's a good place to get specific information. But the comment was absolutely true. You have to be sure that there's not been tampered with this sample equipment, but there are many other things to be aware of.
Yeah. So we are very soon at the end of this seminar. We have had a lot seminars. We had the role of the jury. We have had the role of the referee. We've had the role of chief marshal, the role of technical controller, and now this new one with how to prepare as a coach. And next week we have the last one for this time, and it will be with an athlete telling how she prepares for the competition during and before, and what's to be aware of. And then now that her career there has stopped, what is she doing now? So this is also a very, very exciting seminar that I hope you will all join, even though you're not athletes, but if athletes also. So again, I would like to thank the technical committee for this, for the support of these seminars. It's really, really important. And we have had 70 people listening today. Very grateful for that. And I could see in the beginning, it's again from all over the world. So thank you so much for listening. And if you have more questions, please do not hesitate. I will stop in a minute and then you can ask. But if you want to receive a certificate or diploma, please send an email to office.ewf.sport at, hvad hedder snabelag, Anders?
Add.
Okay, so it's office@ewf.sport with your surname, last name, and country. And if you're more than one from one country, please send it in one email and you will get it very, very fast.
Ina,
Yes.
sometimes we see teams doctor in the warm-up room. Who is allowed? Can you take it one more time?
Yes. The one who is accredited are allowed. And if they have an accreditation card, they can go, and of course they have a warm-up pass. Normally, you have 1 or 2 coaches and maybe a team doctor or team physiotherapist or a mentalist or whatever to, you know, to have your head prepared, to give you some kind of karma, to give you whatever is needed for the lift. And it can also be an athlete who is helping. That will normally in a country like Denmark, we might have 2 coaches and an athlete from a former group or a group that will be lifting 3 days ahead. So as long as they have an accreditation, and then they can come in with a warm-up pass. And I was just joking with, you can bring your grandmother, because you can bring your grandmother if the federation accreditate her or says okay for her. Okay.
But normally, no.
Normally, no. Okay. So thank you so much for your attention. And if you like, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I post a lot of the weightlifting, and if we make some new videos with the technical rules, I will put them there, or else you can see it on EWF website. So if anyone has more questions, please put them in the chat, and Patrick, he will let us know.
I think they're very satisfied because they sends lots of greetings for you and Anders.
Okay, fantastic. So I would like to thank you so much for your attention, and of
Thank you
course,
very much.
a special thank to Anders, my husband,
Hello,
who's
doctor.
sitting downstairs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. See you next
Thank
week.
you very much.
Bye bye.
Very much. Bye bye.
Bye.